Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead. The little guy next to her is now married to her, and that's Mikey, the pizza boy, who came to me as a pizza guy, limo driver, and then became a big-time movie producer. And the other one is the Waz. And then we got you. 17 months, 3 weeks. The quality of earnings that I touched upon as we ended yesterday afternoon, which is the same as the due diligence, and that you should do on your acquisitions, that I already said the bank will do, to the extent that you engage in commercial lending, and why I normally do not recommend that you use your board for the small deals, because if your board fucks it up, what are you going to do? Sue them? But you'll do it because just like you're cheap, that you don't want to give out shares, you'll try to save money by doing the due diligence yourself. And on the €1 or €2 million, dollar, etc., smaller deals, you certainly have the capabilities in-house. But as I said 2 or 3 times, many of your board members have not been in the field for 20, 25 years. And as I alluded to yesterday, most of the things don't change, but tax consequences do change. And so then they fuck it up. And as you heard, I think it was Gabriel that said he fired, ultimately, his lawyer because he fucked it up. Now, the better board members that have not been in the saddle for a while will tell you, I can go and I can oversee, but I haven't been out there in the fight for a long time. But they're embarrassed too. So they may just go because you tell them to or the chairman tells them to. I would rather have all due diligence done by the accountants. And the accountants have big malpractice policies, so if they fuck something up. Now we have some of you stupid enough, and I'm sure somebody in this room will do it too. When you're recruiting the accountants, you're going to tell them the reason why we want Big Four is because we can sue you if you fuck it up. I guarantee you. I'll bet £1 million to 1 again. Just as some of you are going to, when you're recruiting chairman, are going to say, anchor chairman. They're your anchor, but that's not how you recruit. But again, I'll bet £1 million to 1. Somebody in this room is going to fuck it up. The templates say anchor chairman on them. And you won't take the time to copy and paste the right word? Well, anyway, you won't change them. All these little 2 or 3 things I just said are considered self-sabotaging activities. Because down deep inside, you're just a dirtbag piece of shit. You don't deserve to be, have wealth. That sheet that you have there is on a deal that was closed in Florida about 2.5 years ago, just as Corona started, 3.5 years ago maybe. And I've said before, 3 states that are really harder because they've had big scandals in the past: New Jersey, Florida, California. And the transfer of licenses, as I started to talk to speak of yesterday, is we have people that, the guy that had the license, the couple, he's dead 14 years and his wife is still using his license. That kind of thing happens all the time. And so you have to verify, is the license accurate? Is it up to date? And is the person still alive that license has? And so that's why most of the substance abuse and things that require the transfer of licenses are done in share deals, not asset deals, because the license transfers with the shares, the company, the entity itself, and not an individual. And I told you late yesterday that when they tell you it's just a 45 to 90 day process, that's a lie. We have, you're going to hear Viking Bitch today talk about a lady, husband died 7 or 9 years before. She's still using the license. And so she entered into a management contract with the company so she could still run the company before the license got transferred. But other than the licensing transferring, some of you will enter into acquisition mode that licenses are minimal. But when they're minimal, the barrier to entry is great, and so normally the profit margins are lower. And your industry experts, et cetera, and all these people should know what I just told you, book and verse. Like they learned their catechism when they first went to church when they were a little kid. But if you don't ask them, why are they there? Why are they there? I just got an email from a guy who's got, let's see, 8 or 9 million in EBITDA over 3 deals. I'm his chairman, and I'm his industry expert. I was brought in late after he started. And he asked me a question. I said, well, what the fuck's the board say? But he feels more comfortable with me asking me because I know he's an idiot. Believe me, everybody on your fucking board is going to know you're an idiot. You're not going to be able to hide it. So use them, you know. I got another email late last night. I'm not chairman. It's one of you guys who didn't do your homework, right? And because Kim is out ill, she's back tomorrow. Some of the emails are filtering through to me that I wouldn't normally see because Kim would stop them. Now, Kat, when they come to her, she knows how to stop them, but Kim's not here to stop them. So somehow I got an email, and I'm not going to answer it. And Kim comes back tomorrow, so I'll tell Kim, he's indisposed. Because I specifically remember him. I told him like 2 or 3 times, longer is better. The same speech I gave you. He asked at least 7 times. I stopped counting at 7. How do I get the fucking money out and run like a thief in the night? He left the part, how do I run like a thief in the night out. But he asked 7 times, how do I get the fucking money out quick? And he was a convicted felon. He was bank fraud. He had done 4 or 5 years in a German prison. And how do I get the fucking money? Last night, let me get back to the quality of earnings. That 2 or 3 sheets is a lot of work. I mean, a lot of work. But that's about depending on the size of the deal, that's between 40 and 100 grand. And when they just give you the piece of paper, 100 grand for this, but can be as much as 100 grand. It also, the cost varies between what kind of accountants in the firm are doing it. Do they have 2 partners doing all the work? Or do they have one manager and 2 little runts doing all the work? And you want the most senior people you can doing your work. And just as you're going to ask, they're going to appoint an engagement partner, and if you don't like them, no, I want somebody else. And don't worry about hurting the fucker's feelings. You want as many senior people as possible. But when you have as many senior people as possible, it costs more. And after they do the first deal, due diligence for you, and they produce a quality of earnings, they will, a lot of the work they'll be doing for you, especially on the law side, will be boilerplate. In other words, they just hit a button on the computer and it spits it out, and then they just change some names around. So in your second, third, and fourth deal, assuming, let's say that they're all $3 or $4 million in revenue, your fee should go down because now they've already done the boilerplate on the first deal. Yes, question.
So you don't send this piece of paper to your seller to ask him to fill it out and send it back?
No, fuck no. He's not going to give you the honest answer.
Okay.
And then you take that piece of paper, and it'll look nice with KPMG or it'll look nice, no paper. And then you go down, and then you walk the property, and you kick the shit out of the price. And I told you already, one time in 52 years, has the price ever should have gone up, but the guy gave the guy a mercy fuck and said, "Nah, it's my fault. My accountant was a moron. It was his uncle or something." That real uncle, not like in India when they call it uncle. And he says, "Okay, no, we'll just keep the price at what we agreed, but the price should have gone up." And then that because they don't tell you all the truth. They just don't. And then the ad backs, as they're called, they're keeping their mistress and the bastard son that they put through college and all this shit. You draw it out because you're not going to be spending that money as he did. And once in a while you find, although very seldom, you find the wives are utilizing the company money to do shit. But mostly the wives are doing it to buy clothes more expensive than they tell the husband, or jewelry or something else. They're not trying to hide their boyfriend. In general, the women, not in general, specifically the women are exceedingly more loyal than the guys. The guys will fuck a snake if you hold its head still. Any questions about quality of earnings? Yes, sir.
When we're interviewing accounting firms, is this the only services we tell them we
No. You have a template, okay? Now, we've had guys that have asked for the moon and got it, okay? But certain things the accountants can't do on a delayed fees, one of which is an audit. They won't be able to do an audit. And when the accounting firm tells you no, you heard Andrea say when he was, and the accountant said, "I'm not sure we can do that service." And it's because in the beginning when Andres was pitching these guys, he didn't explain to them that the audit is different. And that's why a lot of the guys use two different accounting firms. They use one for the audit, and they're clean and pristine, and they use one for the due diligence and structuring of the transaction. So it makes sense, because if you don't get that kind of input, you may have a LLC or a limited liability partnership that can't do certain things in certain states, because whether you do it in the Delaware LLP, limited liability partnership, or you do it in Florida or California, they're all different. They're all different. And so you'll have a corporate structure that you can't do what you're doing. And then when it unravels and it falls to shit is when you try to exit. And or when you try to buy out the CFO that you're firing. Okay? And he always knew that the corporate structure was fucked up, but he just kept his mouth shut. And now all of a sudden, when you're trying to get him out the door and buy his shares for 15 cents on the dollar, he lays this paper on you. And of course, the first thing that comes to mind, well, you lying piece of shit, you're the CFO and you didn't tell me. But anyway, and so you've got to make sure that the corporate structure fits what you want to do. And the accountants and the lawyers figure that out. And it's all, remember, major shareholder friendly. Now, there's certain countries in the world, mostly former Eastern Bloc countries, like Ukraine, that they set it up that way that the minority shareholders have no fucking rights anyway. But in the Western world, normally they give the minority shareholders a fair shake. Generally speaking, in the world, the only rights a minority shareholder has is the right to see the numbers, the financials, once a year. But the law says they can be once a year up to 3 years late. So the numbers you're looking at don't mean anything. So much for a minority shareholder. And as long as you maintain control, and there's some bizarre ways that I've seen over the years you lose control. But normally it's when your board is getting ready to boot you out anyway. So they don't give you all the information they should. Your in-house lawyer doesn't give you all the information. Your in-house accountant and CFO don't give you all the information. And by the time you find this out, you remember the guy, the poor little Nepalese guy, the Sherpa. That's pretty blatant when all of a sudden, he set it up with a third, which is, he's already in the crapper. But a lot of the times that they ease you out, it's not so obvious, like the example I gave you yesterday or the day before. And your chairman should have, whether he's a lawyer or not, like myself, I have pretty good general knowledge. I know, what we should be doing and what we can't do, and what we're opening the door to, a in-house mutiny or a fiasco. Excuse me. And the board, there's going to be somebody on the board that you get along with better, like human nature. And don't fall asleep like in the example that I read you, because the guy liked him. He may have been setting him up from the beginning, I don't know. You've always got to be wary. You've always got to be skeptical. And political correctness and woke is the opposite of that. I'm okay, you're okay, cha-cha-cha. Well, that's not the real world. And the bigger the amount of money, the more skeptical you should be. And but there's some, as Peter said, there's sharks out there. And he's already pretty rich. But there's sharks out there. The one who eliminates you from the whatever list, that you may or may not be on because you've gained wealth. You've gained wealth. Any questions about the quality of your earnings? Yes, sir.
I do have questions about actually.
I know you have questions. How do you take the money out?
No. It's the movie from last night, Steve Jobs. He was thrown out.
Well, I'm going to get to Steve, but go ahead.
Okay. He was thrown out.
By the way, I'm one of the guys. I wasn't the last guy to see him alive, but I was at that end of his continuum when I saw him in Bangalore. He had already gone through all the various remedies for cancer that money can buy. And he got skinny when he went on, some of these diets that they tell you to take. And he was dancing with himself in the middle of the dance floor for 2 or 3 hours when Sally and I were there. But anyway, go ahead about Steve.
So he was thrown out from Apple.
Correct? By Markowitz.
By John
Markowitz was the guy that put up the 80 or 90 grand in the beginning. And then he was also the guy that threw him out, but he was also the guy that brought him back. But go ahead.
So my question is that, and again, I'm trying to get it clear. I do have an understanding, but I'm trying to understand from you. Is that because of the voting rights? He had. I'm sure he had more than 51% share.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
So that is the why.
Yeah, if you don't have 50%, it's easy peasy to get rid of you. I'm going to teach you a way when we're not on the camera, the way allegedly I've done it before. But I will neither confirm nor deny whether I've done it before, but I'm sure you how to do it. Just like, remember, where you could buy the debt and then toss them out? Well, there's other ways to do that too. And all the big guys and even the little guys know how to do it. But he was a minority. He was a big minority shareholder, but he had fallen below 50%. Okay, now yeah.
When we're in the phase of interviewing firms, we're not incorporated.
Which firms?
The
law,
accounting.
Okay,
we're not incorporated yet.
Correct.
But if they ask for a cap chart or a corporate structure,
well, you can give them a corporate structure, but say draft across the top, and these are potentially what the numbers would look like. Potentially. Because it is potential. You may change. For example, if you've got 5 directors on the cap chart that you show them, and we wind up with 8 directors, it's going to be different. but this is potentially what it's going to look like. And they often ask, the weaker you look and or the weaker you sound, because if you're inexperienced, the more they ask about the board. Specifically the chairman. Like a couple of the kids in here, 19, 22, 22, they're going to know, is this chairman locked in? Well, nobody's locked in. But I mean, they want to know, have you actually met this guy? I assure you, and again, I use the name Ben Carson because he's one of the most notable guys in healthcare. And I'm not telling you to list him, but some of the guys that I have not trained, and they put in phony names, and they go to the bank, they pretend to be following the QLA model, they put Ben Carson down. And now we, even the dumb bankers know that he's not the real chairman. And is it breaking the law? I don't know if it is breaking the law, but I know it's a lie and it's immoral, it's this and that. But he's not the only one, but there's 4 or 5 guys in healthcare that don't join boards that the kids from YouTube use wrongfully. So, but they ask you a lot of questions about the board. It's because you look 9 years old, or you sound 9 years old, or you're stuttering, and that's why I tell you to practice. And the kids have gotten away with murder since the beginning of Corona and getting out of Corona because they've been able to do these presentations on Zoom. And I was part of a presentation because you can listen to Zoom calls and not be part of Zoom calls. I'm sure you know that. Where the kid's screen was blank. And he bullshitted the bank. And the bank bonded, my screen's out. What are these fucking idiots? Yes, they're fucking idiots. And he sounded like he had a little squeaky voice. And I never followed up to find out what happened to the kid. But we don't lie. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Okay? You follow the scripts and the templates, that's the minimum amount of information that you can get away with and get this done. If you talk too much, it's like in sales. Okay? Once they say yes, you keep the fucking shut up. You shut up. You don't elaborate. Oh, what, aren't you interested in this point or this point? Once they say yes, fine, just get the paperwork out and have them sign it. So that's the minimum amount. Now, you're going to know a lot more than the minimum amount, but the information that you have in the templates, etc., can close any kind of deal. Okay, Kat, thank you.